So many times in my language learning, I have felt stuck, overwhelmed, drowning in my emotions on why this language learning thing is not working out for me and really feeling like a failure because the only advice I'm getting is really generic. Be more disciplined, create a new routine, and falling into a lot of self-criticism along the way. Now, instead of looking at more surface level metrics, I want to offer up different reasons you probably haven't thought about as to why you are struggling so much in your languages. Welcome back. My name is Emily from Language Travel Adoptee, and I help high achiever, multi-passionate language learners find lifelong confidence and joy in their language learning by helping them understand, connect, and integrate their authentic selves into their language studies. First thing we need to get out there right now is we confuse confidence with self-esteem so much, and this is why it's so important and is probably leading to why you feel like you're struggling. If you have ever found yourself in a situation where you thought, I learned Spanish so well, why in Korean, for example, am I struggling to get words out so much? I just wish I could go back to how I was with Spanish, confident and being able to speak. Now, here is where the mix-up between confidence and self-esteem come in. Confidence is what we think is going on, is what we think we have grown. But confidence is actually much deeper than that. It's self-esteem that was being boosted for you in that moment. As the lovely Brené Brown says, self-esteem, we think, but self-worth, aka confidence that actually lasts, is a much more internal experience. It's felt. It's deeply tied to our self-worth as human beings. And if we are deeply connected to that confidence that really lets our authentic selves and our enjoyment on our language journey shine through when we are connected to our authentic selves in that way. I want to give you another example of how we can mix up self-esteem and confidence, right? Because it can really get in our heads. You can say, I got a C1 on that German language proficiency exam. I know that I am intelligent. I know that I have that level. Why do I feel so stupid? Or you go into a meeting with a native speaker. If you're really looking back and reflecting on what happened, you say, I'm such an intelligent person. Why do I feel so stupid? In that moment, you are thinking your self-esteem, right? You know that you're intelligent. You know that you have accomplished all this stuff before. You're thinking it in your head, but you're not feeling the true deep confidence and self-worth that will accompany you wherever you go in your language learning studies. No matter what happens, when we misidentify the problem, we also misidentify the solution, and we're left really confused. By mixing up confidence and self-esteem, we think a certain thing will give us true lasting confidence, when actually that certain thing will most likely only boost self-esteem, as do many things on the internet. I also feel this when I filmed that 9 languages video. You can also hear my very transparent thoughts about me not being my authentic language learning self in my Polyglot Lies video linked down below. But basically when I knew that I could speak 9 languages on camera, yes, I knew that I had this certain level, this certain ability in language learning. I could think about that all day. But then why would I go back worrying about if I was good enough as a language learner, even though I had that past evidence to tell me otherwise? That boosted my self-esteem, but it was really the confidence that was not being worked on that really held me back. For long, you just find yourself going in circles. Oh my gosh, how do I get that confidence back? Thinking about the past, wanting to bring that past self-esteem boosted you into the future. Actually, you need to cultivate more of a connection with who you are authentically as the human behind your languages, instead to really work on that confidence. That is actually what I work on with my private coaching community, the Mindful Multilinguals Collective, for high-achieving, multi-passionate language learners, where we do prioritize getting to know our more authentic selves, our curiosity, well-being, to reach all of our language learning goals. I bring monthly exclusive trainings based on what you're seeing in this video, plus we meet up weekly to discuss these. Click the link down below if you're interested. Again, working on your confidence, it is a need. It is not a want. But usually we only work on it once we hit the lowest of the lows in our learning. So I always encourage people to really think about working on this now when you are in an okay place, not only when you're feeling bad. Another reason why you are still struggling in your languages is we're choosing resistance over acceptance. Now, I see a lot of this resistance of who you are with perfectionists in language learning. It can go from simply wanting to do well to being deeply psychologically rooted in I'm not good enough. This feeling is bombarding me at every moment in my life, not only in learning. Every time I open my mouth to speak, I feel like I'm automatically a failure. I don't like being vulnerable. I wish I could just make perfectionism going away, and having just a huge resistance to perfectionism, which, as I've mentioned in other videos, trying to resist who you authentically are is exhausting and will keep on struggling with this feeling of never being good enough more and more. So I advise you, if you are struggling with any sort of resistance against perfectionism or another emotion or belief, we feel like we're heading into a negative spiral with our negative self-talk, or we feel fear, I advise you to close your eyes, breathe in 4 counts, hold 6, out 7. That is one of my favorite breathing exercises to really calm down your body first before you try to fix any of your thoughts in your head. Believe me, what you tell yourself will stick a lot better, and you'll believe it more often if you calm your body down first. If you need to change your physical space, change into a new set of clothes, maybe take a cold shower to wake up your senses, use an ice pack on your face. Using things that are simple that help you calm down is always the first step when you feel yourself, aka getting in your own way or getting too much into your head. When you think about your own learning and you feel a lot of resistance. Once you have a clearer head, you can better feel and observe the feelings at hand instead of falling into the pattern of suppressing or running away from the resistance that you feel. Another reason why you've probably struggled with your language learning before of thinking change is the only logical and reasonable option, thinking that staying the same is actually the enemy. YouTube videos of any niche give very clear steps for any personal change that you want. Be more consistent in your studies. Buy that new language program. Maybe you've bought several things that you're excited about in your studies only to find yourself falling off like 2 weeks later, even though logically you know that if you had just stuck it out with that program, with that language partner, it would actually really help you in your learning. This also includes whenever we are trying to establish habits, right, outside of our learning, exercising more or waking up earlier. We see so many people making positive and lasting change around us that convinces us, oh, we might need to do it as well, which is not necessarily bad, but hear me out. Subconsciously, when we find ourselves falling off of what we know is good for us, we discount that maybe somewhere deep down inside ourselves, staying the same instead of changing and sticking to that program is actually valuable to you. I want you to think of sameness as well as the complement to change. It's kind of like the philosophical concept of yin and yang. One cannot exist without the other. They are not whole unless they are together, and they coexist. Now, according to sociologist and psychiatrist Dr. Ellen Horn, understanding that sameness is in fact reasonable will help you change. It gets you out of thinking that change is the only legitimate option. Sameness is a part of you. It's not out to hurt you. It's not defective, and sameness deserves your affection too. Sameness actually comes from the affectionate part of you that wants to protect you. Now, finding out if you really want to truly change, especially if you find yourself falling off of personal change and being resistant, that requires much more deep human work, right, of contemplation as to why and why sameness, deep down, could actually be much more valuable personally to you after all. Remember, sameness, it is not the enemy. Sameness and change always work for you. Going too much out of your comfort zone can also be a reason why we constantly struggle with our languages. I always want us to think about how can we expand the edge of our comfort zone boundary just a little bit. My examples with German, I didn't speak at all. That was way outside of my comfort zone. And back then I wasn't really influenced by everyone else who was speaking German fluently in 6 months and doing all of these productivity-based planning routines, etc. But I basically didn't speak for the first 7 months I was learning it. That eventually just turned into texting a tandem partner, which then turned into just talking with people on Omegle when I could just hang up at any point, which then turned into finding a consistent language partner, which then turned into me going and studying abroad in the country. But again, it was gently pushing the boundary of where we are, meeting ourselves where we are. That was how pushing my boundary was with German. But with Mandarin Chinese, for example, I still don't know if I'm ever going to want to speak with a real person using one single method, which is just Pimsleur right now, using a lot of shadowing and auditory listening in private for me. That's good enough for me in that language, but it wouldn't have been the same boundary in German. Again, boundaries are different for all of us, and they also vary between languages. They also vary according to what season of life that we are in, and there's no right answer with how to set a boundary, right? I think as high achievers who are learning languages, we always want to be told or given a signal, right? This is right, this is wrong. And with boundaries and with life, we don't get that. As Dr. Annika Warren said, one of my favorite quotes, You have to learn to live in the gray. And this is actually what it's like to start living in the gray, where there's no right answer. And the answer that you think is right will surely change at some point again, because you're an evolving human behind your languages after all, which we do forget about from time to time. Practicing and learning to be okay with the gray, no matter what season you're in, that is a great step towards true freedom and a step out of the struggle in your language learning. Make sure to like and subscribe if you are more interested in how focusing on emotions in your language learning is really the best thing that you could ever do for your success. Please write me down below what your thoughts are on this video. If you can add anything to it, I'd love to start a discussion down below. And then check out this next video for more language confidence and compassionate mindset shifts here